I live in a country that is well known for being wet. As one might expect, this means we have a remarkable variety of wetlands, many of which have inspired memorable scenes in fiction or provided much-needed resources to communities. They're also home to an incredible diversity of life, providing vital habitats to our wildlife. There are, however, multiple types of wetlands. Is a swamp the same as a marsh? Is there a difference between a bog and a fen? Does it really matter what we call these wet pieces of land? Hi, I'm Dr. Eleanor Tufnell, an environmental scientist. There are many types of wetland, and I hope to explore more of those in other videos. In this video, I will be exploring 4 broad types of wetland: swamp, marsh, bog, and fen. I will explain how each differs from the others, and explore some of the types of plant and animal species that tend to make each type of wetland their home. I'll also get into some of the varieties within each type. So if you're curious, or want to know whether the character you're writing is a swamp hag or a bog witch, stay with me as I take you through the wonderful world of wetlands. How we categorise them. We tend to use these terms interchangeably, but is there an actual technical difference? Yes, but no entirely universal classification system. You see, there are a number of different ways wetlands can be classified. For example, they may depend on how a wetland receives water, the physical structure or appearance of the wetland, how or if a wetland is managed by humans, the soil or water chemistry, and the plants and animals the wetland supports. Different parts of the world use different terms to describe their wetlands, and classification is not standardised. The differences we'll explore in this video can be divided into 3 categories: where the water comes from, what type of vegetation is present, and what is the pH and nutrient profile of the soil and water. Bear in mind there will often be overlap between categories of wetland, and that what a piece of wetland is colloquially called may not match its type as laid out here. As is often the case with science, the technical convention and the linguistic convention do not always line up. For example, a mire refers to a spongy, muddy ground, could be applied to a marsh, swamp, bog, or fen, providing that they are sufficiently soggy. The swamp, staple of many a fictional adventure. These wetlands feature mineral soil, meaning it is low in organic content, in contrast to organic soils like peats. This distinguishes swamps and marshes from bogs and fens, which are peatlands. In a swamp, these mineral soils drain poorly, and swamps are dominated by trees. This is another feature which this time distinguishes them from marshes, as marshes are generally dominated by more low-lying vegetation such as grasses and reeds. Swamps may be fed from fresh, salt, or brackish water being a mix of the first 2. Regardless of the water type, swamps have it in great abundance, where it moves slowly or not at all, and soils are waterlogged. Swamps are more common in tropical or subtropical climates. In temperate climates, the same conditions tend to result in marshes instead. The quantity of water present will often vary seasonally, with some months being drier than others, but swamp soils tend to remain waterlogged, leading to low oxygen anoxic conditions. Because of this, decomposition slows, and organic matter accumulates as sediment. The darker, tea-coloured waters we see in swamps are a result of this incomplete decay. Freshwater swamps may be fed by rivers, lakes, or groundwater. They occur in low-lying areas, along floodplains, riverbanks, and near lakes. Saltwater or brackish swamps are mostly found in tropical and subtropical regions' coastlines, and the water is fed either by the ocean directly or a combination of the ocean with rivers and estuaries that flow into the ocean. In the UK, swamps are rare, but wet woodland does exist and is dominated by trees which enjoy wet soils such as alder, willow, and birch. They also include a variety of sedges, ferns, and mosses. Animals that make these places home include the common frog, common toad, and the grass snake, which are all very at home in the water. In the trees can be heard many birds, such as the willow warbler and the common crossbill. The US features numerous vast freshwater cypress swamps, where, aside from the bald cypress trees, other water-loving trees, including the sweet bay and red maple, can be found. The waters here teem with life, from river otters to American alligators to hundreds of birds such as warblers and flycatchers. Mangrove swamps, which can be found in many tropical and subtropical regions across multiple continents, including North and South America, Asia, Africa, and Australia. These saltwater swamps are, of course, home to the mighty mangrove trees and shelter a diverse mix of creatures adapted to salty or brackish waters. Mangrove swamps in Guinea and Guinea-Bissau host a number of endangered species, such as the African manatee, hooded vultures, and grey parrots. Marsh. Now for a similar but distinct form of wetland. Marshes feature similar soils to swamps, and the main thing that distinguishes them is their vegetation. Trees are sparse in marshland, which is instead dominated by grasses, reeds, rushes, and sedges. Wild rice and true rice, fun fact, these are not the same plant, though they are closely related, are also common in some regions and contribute to the world's food supply. These thick-rooted plants bind the mud together, slowing water flow, which encourages the spread of the marsh. Marshes are commonly found at river mouths and deltas, where the gradient of the river causes it to slow, leading to a build-up of sediment and flooding. Marshes are more common in temperate regions, while warmer, more tropical regions tend to form swamps. As with swamps, marshes can have fresh, salt, or brackish water. There is often some overlap between salt and freshwater marshes, which makes for a unique habitat. In the UK's fresh and saltwater marshes, there is some spectacular bird watching. Wading birds are common, such as the sandpipers and shanks, as well as many other types of wetland birds, including snipes, godwits, and curlews. Aside from the myriad bird species, upwards of 80 species in some marshes, there are a number of species of mammal, from the tiny water vole to the larger-than-life otter. While the salt makes it difficult for amphibians, the protected natterjack toad evolved to thrive in brackish waters. Bog. Now, for Pete's sake, let's get on to our first peatland, the bog. Unlike swamps and marshes, which are on mineral soil, bogs have soils with high levels of organic material. Also, unlike swamps and marshes, bogs are usually fed primarily by rainwater, rather than rivers, lakes, or the ocean. The water in bogs is usually stagnant with little or no flow. They develop in depressions in the ground, which are low in nutrients. These depressions are often left over from the last ice age, and may once have been the site of small lakes or glaciers. As the bog accumulates dead plant matter, it forms a dense, spongy layer or mat, which sits on top of the water. Species of moss, notably sphagnum moss, and some other species of grasses grow in this mat, knitting it together tightly. When walking on it, you may feel the mat shift beneath your feet. Due to the layer of decaying plant matter and whatever mosses and grasses have grown on it, the mat and the water underneath it tend to become both anoxic and acidic. The accumulated, partially decayed organic matter is called peat, and has been used as a fuel in many parts of the world for millennia. There are a number of different types of bogs. The typical bog forms in cool regions and is dominated by mosses and heath. However, there are other types of bog. At lower latitudes, pocosins, or evergreen shrub bogs, can form, and these are extensive in the southeastern US. These tend to feature sandy peat and woody evergreen shrubs. There are also tropical bogs, which are less common than swamps, and the peat within them is formed largely from tree remains. While tropical temperatures are usually high enough for decay to be rapid, in some areas with extremely high rainfall and groundwater that is low in minerals, the tropical bogs can appear. These tropical bogs may have tall, broad-leafed evergreen trees, such as trees in the genera Shorea or Calophyllum. Palms and screw pines can also be found in tropical bogs. Like mangroves, trees that grow in bogs often have stilt roots to keep their main trunk above the water. Bogs of all types are home to a massive variety of insects and amphibians. Warmer areas may also feature carnivorous plants such as pitcher plants and the Venus flytrap. Fens. The second type of peatland in this video is the fen. Fens tend to develop on slopes, unlike bogs, which tend to form in depressions. Fens can form in flatter areas or in depressions, but a key difference between them and bogs is that fens have a constant flow of mineral-rich water, either from groundwater or surface water, while fens have mineral-poor, stagnant water fed by rainfall. Fens are largely covered by water much of the year and are dominated by grasses, reeds, and sedges. The constant flow of water is what causes anaerobic conditions, limiting the decomposition of organic matter, which over time accumulates as peat. Another distinguishing feature of fens is that the flow of water makes them much less acidic than a bog. Some fens are even alkaline. Like bogs, fens are generally found in cool, moist, boreal regions in the northern and southern hemispheres. Fens are much rarer the closer one gets to the equator, but as with bogs, the necessary conditions do occasionally occur for them to form. Due to their higher nutrient levels, fens can support a wider range of wildlife than bogs. Fenland habitat has massively decreased in the UK, with only 1% of the original spread remaining. However, UK fenland hosts 13,000 different animals and plant species. Plants include the marsh orchid, fen violets, greater bladderwort, and frogbit. Fens provide habitat for some incredible invertebrates, including several species of endangered snail, spider, dragonfly species, and beetles. Water voles, newts, bitterns, and grass snakes are among the many animals that call fens home. Conclusion. So that was a lot of wetland, and it's easy to get stuck or bogged down, so let me sum things up a little. Swamps are wetland with poorly draining mineral soil, slow-moving water, and are dominated by trees. Marshes are wetland with poorly draining mineral soil, slow-moving water, and are dominated by grasses, sedges, and reeds. Bogs are peat-forming wetland with soil low in minerals but high in organic matter with stagnant, strongly acidic water, which is replenished by rainwater. Fens are peat-forming wetland with soil high in minerals, moving water, low acidity, and is fed by surface and groundwater. As is the case with a lot of habitats, wetlands face their own challenges and threats right now. So conserving these unique places is paramount. I'll need to do an entire video on that, but for now I really hope you enjoyed learning about the different types of wetlands. If you enjoyed, please let the algorithm know by subscribing, liking, commenting, and sharing with anyone you think might find it interesting. Until next time, thank you for watching.